After the solemn warning of Nadab and Abihu's disobedience, Leviticus 11 moves into a new section of the law, where God begins teaching Israel how to live as a holy people in daily life. Holiness was not only for the tabernacle, it was meant to shape their homes, habits, and even their diets. Here God gives the laws of clean and unclean animals, showing his people that holiness touches every part of existence, from worship to what they eat. These commands were not arbitrary or merely dietary. They were moral, spiritual, and symbolic. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and say, of all the animals that live on land, these are the ones you may eat." Israel's diet would now reflect its calling. Every meal was to remind them that they were set apart from the nations. The distinctions between clean and unclean animals were God's way of training their conscience, teaching discernment, obedience, and self-control. Among the land animals, they could eat any that had a split hoof and chewed the cud, creatures like cattle, sheep, and goats. These animals represented stability and meditation, feet set firmly on the ground and mouths that constantly chewed, symbolic of those who walk in God's ways and meditate on his word. But animals like the camel, hyrax, and rabbit chewed the cud but did not have a split hoof, while the pig had a split hoof but did not chew the cud. These were unclean, pictures of partial obedience. They had one mark of holiness but lacked the other. God was teaching that holiness requires wholeness, not partial devotion, but a complete walk of faith and reflection on his truth. Among creatures of the sea, only those with fins and scales were permitted, fish that moved freely in the water, not those that crawled on the bottom or fed on decay. The unclean sea creatures symbolized those who sink into corruption rather than swim in purity. From the birds, God excluded the scavengers and predators, while vultures, ravens, owls, and hawks. These fed on death, not life. The clean birds were those that ate seed or fruit, symbols of peace and nourishment. Even among insects there were distinctions. Winged insects that walked on all fours were unclean, except for locusts, katydids, crickets, and grasshoppers, which could leap and fly, signifying victory over the dust. Anything that crawled or crept on its belly was unclean, serpents, lizards, and all creeping things. The Israelites were forbidden to touch their carcasses lest they become defiled. To us today, these rules may seem strange, but to Israel they were sacred boundaries that constantly reminded them that God's people must be different. Every meal, every choice, every act of touch or taste reinforced their identity as a nation belonging to the Lord. Uncleanness was not sin in itself, but it symbolized separation from God's presence. To be clean meant to be fit for worship, to live in harmony with his holiness. At the end of the chapter, God gives the reason for all these distinctions. "I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am holy. Do not make yourselves unclean by any creature that moves along the ground. I am the Lord who brought you up out of Egypt to be your God. Therefore be holy, because I am holy." The call to holiness was not about food alone. It was about fellowship. God was shaping a people who would reflect his character in every detail of life. The physical law pointed to a spiritual truth. Holiness means separation, not isolation, but devotion. Every clean and unclean distinction pointed ultimately to Jesus Christ, who fulfilled the law and made all things clean. In Mark 7:15, Jesus declared, "Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them." He shifted the focus from dietary purity to spiritual purity, from clean food to a clean heart. Yet the principle remains. God's people are still called to discernment, to live differently, to walk in purity before him. Leviticus 11 reminds us that holiness is not confined to the sanctuary. It follows us to the table, the marketplace, and the everyday rhythms of life. What we consume, what we touch, and what we pursue all matter to a God who calls his people to be distinct. It is a call to live intentionally, to choose what is clean, reject what defiles, and honor God in every ordinary detail. Next comes Leviticus 12, where God gives laws concerning childbirth and purification, showing how holiness touches even the beginning of life itself.